Hey guys, basically I'm going to show you a few basic Excel functions here, and the first thing we need to do is open and save an Excel document. So in my start menu I'm going to go to Microsoft Excel 2007, I'm going to click on that and it's going to open a brand new document for me, and I want to save this document, so I'm going to go to File, Save As, and I'm just going to happen to save this to my desktop as Book 1, or we'll do Basic Excel Training. I type in my file name there, make sure this says Excel Workbook, and then I'm going to go ahead and save that. So now my file is saved. Now the next step is entering any sort of data. So for example, I'm going to enter a title, like let's say for example number of red M&Ms. Okay, and my next title, I'm going to type in number of blue M&Ms. Now notice that my titles occupy more than what is available to me in the cell. And so if I want the title to fit correctly, there are two things I can do. Okay? Let me show you the first option. The first option is to go between, if I want this title to fit the whole cell, I want to go between the A and the B, and you'll see that I got a double-sided arrow going on with a bar in between. If I double click quickly, what it does is it makes the cell big enough so the title will fit in it. Now I'm going to do the B, and so if I double click between the B and the C, I have a perfect amount of space to occupy that title. Now let's say for example that I'm only measuring one variable. So let's say I want to measure grain size of corn kernels for different companies. And what I want is for this title, instead of being separated like this, I want to be able to center it over a whole bunch of variables. So for example, if I have Kellogg's, or we'll just do like company 1, company 2, company 3, company 4, company 5, and so on. I'll do 8 of them to prove my point here. And for each company I have a different number. So let's say, I don't know, I'm just going to enter some numbers in here. And what I want is I want this title to go over every single company. And so what I'll do is I'll start a company right above company 1, which is F2, and I will go over to M2, and I want to click on this button here called Merge and Center. And if I merge and center it, you can see that the title is now above everything, and that is just one giant cell above all the different variables. So let's pretend that we want to format some of these numbers that I've entered. And the way, let's say I want 2 decimal places for each of these variables, or each of these grain sizes, excuse me. And so what I want to do is I want to highlight the grain sizes, right click, and go to Format Cells. Under Format Cells, if I go into Number, I can add as many decimal places as I want. So let's just say I want 1 decimal place, or 2 decimal places, I'll go to 2, click to get 3, so on and so on. So for example, if I want 2, I'll click on 2 and I'll hit OK, and boom, there I have it, 2 decimal places. Now if I go under here, I want to show you a couple other things for Format Cells. You also have, you can turn it into a date, you can turn it into a percentage here with as many decimal places as you want, you can turn it into a fraction, 1 digit, 2 digit, 3 digits. So there are a lot of options here, but that's how you format cells when there's a number involved. Click on number and try to get a decimal place in. Now let's say I want to format the cells for something else. So I have all these different titles, company 1, company 2, company 3, so on and so on, and I want them to be bolded. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click here, and I can even I can highlight all of these, and up here in the Home tab on the font box, if I click bold, they'll all be bolded. Of course, I can also bold just one if I want just 1, or 2, or 3, or 4. It all depends on what I want to do. Let's say I want to bold company 1, company 3, company 5, and company 7. What I'm going to do is I'm going to hold Control, or if you have a Mac, it's the Apple key. Hold Control and then click on company 3, and also click on company 5, click on company 7, all while holding that Control. and press bold, and that should bold all those things that I wanted to, that I selected. If I want to change colors for certain things, I can click on the cell that I want to change the color for. So like let's say gray and SAS for kernels, and if I go under one more time home, font tab, here I have a whole range of colors, and you can see that the colors are changing as I'm scrolling over them, so you get a nice visual. If I want to change font, I have a whole bunch of font options that also changes, and it changes while you're scrolling over them, so you know exactly what you're getting, along with size and alignment in the box. Usually that's the default right there at the bottom. But anyway, that's how you would format text in a cell. Okay. Now let's say I want to insert a column or insert a row. What I do to insert a column is I click on any column that I want to insert in front of. So if I click on column A, and I have to make sure I get this arrow down, this down facing arrow, click on the top part A, right click, and insert, it will automatically insert a column to the left. So remember, columns will always be inserted to the left. Now if I want more than one column inserted, let's say I want 3 columns inserted, I'll highlight 3 columns, right click, insert, and it'll automatically insert 3 columns. And so that's how you insert columns. Now inserting rows is the same kind of situation, where let's say I want to insert a row right above row 7. I click on row 7, I'll get an arrow facing to the right, I'll right click, I'll get insert, and a row right above row 7 will be created. Let's say I want to insert 5 rows, I'll highlight 5 rows, right click, and insert, and remember the 5 rows will be inserted above the ones that you highlighted. So that's how you insert rows and columns. Now let's pretend you have 2 different projects that you're working on, and you want a completely different sheet to work with. If I go down here, I have multiple options here. So if I want a completely different sheet, I can just click on sheet 2, and it'll take me to a blank worksheet. Now remember, you can always go back to sheet 1 to get your original data. Now if I start working on a different worksheet, let's say this one is number of toys sold in the US, and I'm going to use my merge and center, I'm going to bold it, and this is a whole different theme altogether. Now I want to differentiate between sheet 1 and sheet 2, so to make sure that I don't get confused in case I have multiple sheets going on. So if I right click on sheet 2, I can go to the rename option, and let's name this toys, and I can do the same thing for sheet 1. Right click on sheet 1, go to rename, and this one can be food, because we're talking about M&Ms and corn kernels. So now I have food and toys, and sheet 3 I'm not even really using, so I'm going to right click and I'm going to delete it. Okay, it was a blank sheet anyway. And then maybe I decide, okay, well I do want an extra sheet. I can just right click on one of the tabs and go to insert, worksheet, and it will insert a sheet to the left. Okay, and so this sheet 4 was inserted to the left of toys because I right clicked on toys and then clicked insert. Now if I don't want that in the middle, I want it at the very end, I can click and hold and drag it to the other side of toys here, and it'll put sheet 4 in, or directly after toys. So I have food, toys, and then sheet 4. Now let's say I have some content that I want to copy over to a different sheet, or even a different part of the sheet that you're on. What I do is I click on the content that I want to copy. So let's say I want to copy this content here. So I'm going to click on all of it, make sure all of it's covered. Multiple options going on here. You can right click, hit copy. You can do Control C on a PC or Apple key C on a Mac. And the way you'll know that you've selected that is that you'll have the lines circulating throughout your selection. So whenever I'm ready to paste it somewhere, let's say I want to paste it here, I'll hit Control V, or I will do right click, paste, and it'll copy and paste my content where I need it to. It can also be copied to a different sheet, so let's say on sheet 4 I want it. I'll paste it there, boom, there it is. Okay. Now these were just basic things that you might not know how to do, but hopefully this tutorial helped you a little bit, and hopefully you'll be able to do these things after watching it.